Hey everyone, it's Evan from the Trade Risk, Thursday, February 19th, here with a market recap video. And I had a lot of names to run through today. A couple of you guys submitted some symbols to go over today, and I'm happy to do that. And hopefully I can get this done without my dog going crazy barking at someone, which seems to be the case in the past few videos. So let's start off with the SPY, and today we are still working sideways in this tighter consolidation pattern above all previous highs. So this is extremely bullish action in my book right here. You know, moving averages are racing to catch up, and the market's digesting, and it's just really digesting through time. It's not pulling back at all. You know, it seems to be hanging in there pretty steadily. Money seems to be rotating around. So it's, you know, look, the breakout plays perhaps aren't very active over the past couple days because money has been sort of shifting around and there's been a couple of false moves, but overall very constructive action. Now it doesn't mean we can't break down from here, and this could turn into a fake out top for sure, but with what we see right now, with what I see right now, this is constructive action. I like to see this. I am still long. I am rotating through names as you know, names fail or as the breakouts fail. I just drop them and I look for other candidates. So still going with this market. I am very constructive on it. You know, it's interesting to note, so the SPY was basically flat today, and it's basically been flat all week. It hasn't really made any progress. Now, if we look at the Qs, this has been running away a little more convincingly, right? On the week, it's up 0.7%, and if you look at the IWM, a little basically flat today, but still up almost 0.5% on the week, whereas the SPY is basically flat. So it just, you know, that you can see some leadership in there. I wouldn't read too much into it. I think the important story is, you know, IWM still continuing healthy, and then the Qs again is showing some leadership out of this range. Now clearly broken out from this previous range. So I don't think there's any question now with this chart that we haven't broken out yet. So let's again, constructive all around. Let's look at some other markets. TLT, back to a daily chart, has continued to pull back and is staying weak. So we haven't seen the dip here get aggressively bought. It's still coming in some. You know, zooming out here, you know, you still had a pretty good impulse leg from 118 all the way to 138. That's a 20-point move. It's given, you know, a little over half of it back now. So really it's not tremendously bearish by any means. Look at a weekly chart, still very strong. You can see we really accelerated here pretty fast coming into the new year, and it's retracing that. So, you know, it's interesting. We'll have to see if it you know, catches a bid here around this level. You know, anything beyond 124, as you start to break down here, then you have to wonder if the longer term trend is reversing a little bit. But for now, TLT is still continuing to stay weak. Oil had a pretty nice recovery today. It was down, I think, 3%, maybe more at one point, and it did get that rally off of the lows. So you can see with this rectangle we have highlighted here, we are trying to stabilize. Bulls are trying to keep price afloat. It's been holding above $18, and I think that is short-term constructive. I think this is the action that you want to see. So I don't see too much action right here. I mean, if you're a range-bound player, or if you do get a break below, let's say today's lows, I think you will probably see some type of flush action towards the lows again. But I think right now, you know, it's definitely two-way trading. There's something for everyone there. It was down on the day, but the bulls did make a step up and recover some of this action. So it's a product of a long-term downtrend, and you're trying to carve out a base. It's going to take time, and you will have some two-way action at this point. Now, UNG, natural gas, I am actually long natural gas. I wish the close was a little bit stronger. I'm looking essentially for a breakout back into this previous range, 1430, 1440, right where this line is drawn. Essentially, is the level I was looking for natural gas to reclaim, to look for, you know, a trade up back into this range. So I am long some, and we'll see what happens. I have a pretty tight stop. I mean, anything around $14 is what I'm essentially trading against, and I'm going to look for this to continue to try and push into this range. And I think above this 15-12 level where you had this long kind of tight consolidation, I think if price can get eventually back above 15.15, I think you get a really quick fast shot up to these highs up here. So I think it can move really quick. It still has plenty of work to do. There's a lot of supply it's trying to cut through right in here. So, natural gas certainly not out of the woods yet. It's still a pretty, it's still a pretty marginal trade. I guess there's some two-way action, but I think there's some nice opportunity if it does decide to pop into this range. So I'm long some. We'll see what happens. Make sure you're trading with stops. Let's look at metals. Gold. This controlling gap, we talked about it last week and the day after it happened, still in control. You can see, especially with yesterday's candle, you can see that the dip buyers and some of the eager longs are starting to step in here right around 115 or so. Again, I think it's just in a longer term basing bottoming pattern, perhaps, or the bear sort of downtrend is going to continue. But I think for gold, it's still sort of messy. It's got to get through to this gap up here. It's got to close that off. It's got to lift through a lot of this previous supply. It's just not that interesting to me. Silver, sort of the same thing. Perhaps this is one larger base that we'll look back on that will present itself, as a great buying opportunity for a multi-year hold. But we won't know that until later. So silver, same type of camp. It's just in a messy sort of range here. I think really silver needs a little cleaner. Above 1670, above here, I would be interested in potentially getting long something if it could go sideways here and then make a run back for the highs, but it's still pretty far away from that type of action. So let's continue on. Let's look at some of the indices. IBB biotech index back to all-time highs. So this created a lot of doubt, even created doubt in myself here. I think I took a short stab on this as it was pulling back here, broke below this 315, couldn't hold it. I mean, it stayed below 315 for just barely a day, and this day wasn't even that convincing. It's still a tremendous amount of strength here. Dip buyers continue to return to the IBB. So, all looks good. Tough to chase it here, but uptrend still firmly intact. XLY, these were the leaders today. Some leadership split amongst a few different sectors today. Consumer discretionary was one of them, and the technology sector was the other. On the day lagging was the utilities. They were down over 1% on the day again, and they continue to struggle here in a downtrend. So they're clearly diverging from some of the other sectors in the market. Now, Priceline had earnings out yesterday, had a strong gap up $100 just about on the day. Kind of just gapped up into a messy level. 1230, while it's not a very clean, pivot level by any means, I think is still an important level of just general supply that this would need to get above to start to look favorable for the longs again. I still think it's sort of messy. So let's see what kind of continuation we get from this. A 10% up move, it held the gap. A 9% up move, held the gap, closed almost on the highs of the day. So benefit to the bulls there. Congrats to anybody that was in it. Not too actionable for me. Apple continues to stay strong ever since breaking above this 119.50. It's just been a chase, and it was down, it was basically flat on the day, showing some signs of slowing down right here. Let's see if it can continue to go sideways. Let's see if it pulls back. Not too much to say about it. Facebook was getting a lot of attention today. $77. I had this level on watch. This was the previous days, a few day highs here, and I was actually eyeing this, and it came out of the gate basically screaming right above it, right off the open, and it almost never looked back. It did pause a little bit in those mid 77s. in that first 15-20 minutes, but if you didn't jump on board, it was just all higher from that point on. So Facebook looks good. I mean, take a look at a weekly chart. Big breakout, potential breakout. It's still stuck in a little bit of a mess here, but above 78.50, which it did close, I consider there to be a lot of supply that has been preventing price to stay above 78.50 for a long amount of time. So I think, Facebook looks good here. Had a 3.5% move, but given how much it's based out, if this move is for real, then I think you could have a lot of fuel in the tank. So we'll see. I'm not involved in it. We'll see what happens with it, but Facebook here does look good. Twitter also had a pretty impressive day, up 2%. I took some Twitter home today, so I am long Twitter, even though we didn't get the clearest breakout. It kind of closed right at the top of some of these recent tails that we've seen. That price has basically been contained within, but 48.50, that level-ish, was essentially what I was looking at for a close above, a strong close above, and we did get a strong close in Twitter. So I'm gonna take some. I did take some, and I'm gonna see what we get out of it. It is the highest close that we've had since its earnings, basically beating out last Friday, the 13th, today by just 20 cents or so. But, it looks pretty good. We'll see what happens. I get a tight stop on it, so if it doesn't work quick, I am gone. Tesla had a pretty impressive day as well, 3.5%, closed the earnings gap, and it's still in the midst of this range. 220 to 193 is what I'm watching. Above 220 gets interesting to me on the long side. While it stays in here, just not that interesting to me, so we'll see if that shapes up to produce a signal for us. Amazon continues to stay in this pent-up uptrend ever since earnings. Take a look at a weekly chart. You can see 380 or so is basically, is this pivot high area back from the beginning of 2014. It's challenging it now. So it's had a pretty impressive run. Let's see if it goes sideways here some more, but Amazon still looks good. Tough to get involved with that. Same thing with Netflix. Tough to get involved with that. You did have a little bit of a setup here above 455 after it went sideways for a couple of weeks. And now it's just right back to essentially the all-time highs, right in here, right around 480. So it continues to be tough to get involved in this, in my opinion at least. So we'll see what else it produces, but still pretty strong in both those names. Now, I had a couple of submitted charts. Oberon on StockTwits asked about SD. Now SD, this has been in a pretty extreme downtrend here, all the way from $7.50 down to just over $1 earlier start this year. So weekly chart severely damaged. That's the longer term picture I think you need to have in mind. It's not a very interesting chart. It's kind of sloppy. You're in the process of sort of this bounce back, snapback rally that you're in now. So I think $2 is pretty important. You can see that price carved out up against this $2 level, failed, rolled over, reclaimed it. So I'd say $2 is certainly a line in the sand that I would be watching if I were to be long this stock. So look for it to hold $2, and then you also had dip buyers step in here for like a higher low at 167. So $2, 167, I think those are the two important levels. And then it had a nice day today. Let's see if it can continue, take out yesterday's highs. There's not a whole lot of heavy supply to contend with above here. And then you have this open kind of breakdown gap back in late 2014 that's still in play. So, it's in the process of recovering. Just remember, you are dealing with a weekly strong downtrend, so I would just be careful with that. But if you continue to trail your stop in this, I think you could look for higher here. It is trying to trend higher now, so see if it can continue for you. And then had Metroid Prime on StockTwits ask about a couple of names. So FireEye was one. Tweeted about this aggressively buyers stepped in today and bought this dip. You know, it pretty convincingly took out yesterday's lows. It traded down, you know, another 60 cents or so, and then it just snapped back, and it recovered all of it, closed nice green on the day. So FEYE continues to see some money inflowing to it. Strong trend. I mean, it's sort of tough to chase. You know, you could have tried to buy the dip today if that's your style, but again, it's still just a strong trend since its earnings. This was the earnings gap here, the breakaway gap, and again, look at the weekly chart. This is a very nice, well-formed base that it carved out for, you know, 6-7 months. So when you have that strong breakout, you know, you can expect a move to be exactly what you're seeing, a very strong pent-up kind of everybody chasing. So that one looks continues to look really good. Now MOBILEY was another one Metroid had asked about, and this, I mean, this is almost a textbook short of exactly what I like, what I like to look for in short setups. Tight, clear breakdown level. This has been holding a support for 2 weeks now, and then even some back here at the mid-January, and then you had a breakdown from it today. Now I don't know when earnings are, but you know, this looks like a great short setup with some clearly defined risk. If it got, you know, if it took out of today's highs, for example, you could short it at the close and put your risk to today's highs. I think that would be a pretty nice play. You have some obvious you know, levels down here back from its IPO right around $32, so perhaps there's some type of magnet there that MOBILEY wants to test. But this one is just continues to trade down in this orderly downtrend, and just not that interesting to me. I think it looks like a great short right now. GOPRO, another one that Metroid had asked about. Now GOPRO, I'm sorry, had a really nice snapback yesterday, right, on the 17th, 10% up day, but this candle yesterday is horrible. I really don't like yesterday's candle because that move was so drastic. I think the candle on the 17th got a lot of people excited, squeezed some of those you know, non-committed shorts, and got some new longs in there, thinking that this is going to head back and test maybe 55 or something there prior to the earnings. And then yesterday's candle just really sucked the wind right out of that, and I wouldn't like stepping in front of this at all. Perhaps this is a bottoming pattern that is getting carved out from, you know, in hindsight, looking back, you know, years or months. But again, I just, after yesterday's candle, I wouldn't be able to step in here and buy. It looks like the downside momentum is still pent up. We'll see. Again, 37.50. This looks like it could potentially be some type of magnet down here to test this support that was acted as support back right after the IPO price. So I'll have to see. I mean, GoPro just doesn't seem too actionable to me. And then finally, Alibaba continues to just go sideways here. I guess, you know, it's something that you do want to see if you're a bull. Hell, I mean, even if you're a bear, it's good to see some action tighten up to get some new signals in there. Controlling gap from earnings still in play. It's just not that interesting to me. It's just stuck in a range. It's going to need more time, so I would just let it have that time. So let's look at some setups going forward. CINF, this one long setup, clear 5260 breakout. I've talked about this last week, but again, I think it's you know, it's not a super high beta play, but I think it's something that could give you a sustainable breakout if it gets it. One that's more beta is Once. ONCE. This is a recent IPO biotech name. Clear support carved out. Tagged it today, but faded off of it. 48.50, I think, is a clear line in the sand. This one definitely can move. So keep keep that in mind when you're trading this one. But 48.50 seems to be a pretty clear breakout level. LQ, here's another one, 22.25. Not quite ready yet. Today's action, a little bit red. It tried to break through the previous 2 days highs, and it got faded off there. So let's see what happens with it. 22.25 looks pretty clean. CALM, This one here has $37 as a pretty interesting breakout level. It's been basing out nicely, so keep this one on watch. A little bit more of a quiet play too, but nonetheless, it could offer a nice couple of points there. And then PCYC, this one, I think a lot more eyes are on. It's very sort of volatile, this one here, and the spreads sort of shy me away from it at times, but had a nice breakout, 168, and then it did take out briefly the highs here at 172, and then you can see it did close off the highs. So a little bit of some indecision on just this topping tail, but again, still a very strong uptrend. Benefit absolutely to the bulls in this one. So look for some continuation there. I think that's a nice one. So that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.